Welcome back to another episode of Marvelous Videos. My name's JJ. When it comes to colossal armies of baddies in the world of fiction, the Decepticons take the cake. These are massive robots that can transform into all sorts of vehicles, often the military kind, armed to the teeth and dead set on universal domination. Their grand plan? Wipe out any non-Cybertronian life. But don't lose hope just yet, because there's a heroic foil to these mechanical monsters, the Autobots. Now they might not look as slick as the Decepticons, but for millions of years they've been standing in the way, keeping us squishy organic folk safe. These Transformers are essentially alien robots from the planet Cybertron. They're called Transformers because they have this crazy ability to change shape. They can switch their bodies around, morphing from robot mode, usually looking human-like, to a bunch of other things: vehicles, weapons, machinery, even animals, cities, planets, and whatnot. In this video, we will explore the 25 most powerful Cybertronians ever and see just what it is that makes them who they are. Get prepared to see more than what meets the eye. But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin. Unicron. Before time itself, there was this heavy hitter in the Transformers universe called the One, whom you could find in an extra-dimensional realm. To explore the budding universe, the One whips up a cosmic being named Unicron and then splits him into two, birthing his twin, Primus. This one was a good guy and was characterized by order. You may know Unicron, the big bad giant monster from that 80s animated film. Unicron is practically the Godzilla of the Transformers universe if you compare the regular Transformers with humans. His whole gig is basically wiping out everything, leaving himself as the last bot standing. But he's most well known for being a planet eater, literally munching on entire worlds and using their bits to soup up his powers. Unicron is a multiverse hopper, and his very presence is like a reality play. His power? Well, that kinda seems limitless. He can seep into every nook and cranny of the universe in his relentless quest to erase life. Oh, and he's quite the smooth talker too, and offers hefty upgrades to Transformers he wants to work for him. He's known to recruit other bots under his command, giving them new tricks, for instance, what he did with Galvatron in exchange for loyalty. It's a tempting offer, even though it's a one-way ticket to doom. Of course, Unicron isn't just a menacing space boulder. Nope, he can transform into a giant robot warrior whenever he wants to. But when it comes to planet eating, he mostly remains in his planet form. In his bot form, he can raise the dead, shoot energy beams from his peepers, and supercharge others. Basically, he's the Autobots' worst nightmare. So when Unicron rolls into town, it's like a whole Autobot army to tackle him. And even then, you can only delay his plans. He's rather undefeatable. Even Optimus Prime can't solo this guy. Optimus Prime. Alright, let's roll out the backstory on Optimus Prime. Before he became the Autobot head honcho, he was Orion Pax, a sharp member of Cybertron's police squad. With his tactical genius, he climbed the ranks from cop to captain. He dealt with the crooked Senate and the rising threat of Megatron and his Decepticon army. Prime even transformed his followers into the early Autobot army to push back the Decepticons' chaos. And while Megatron offed the previous Primes like it was nobody's business, Optimus kept the fight on. Now this is what makes Optimus Optimus. If Megatron is the galaxy's evil heavyweight champ, making everyone organic or Cybertronian sweat bullets, then Optimus Prime is the counterpunch. For millions of years, he's held the line against that chaos, all while sticking to a strict moral code, and his mantra is that freedom is the right of all sentient beings. Especially when you realize Megatron didn't give a rusted bolt about freedom. To stand tall against that and keep his troops pumped up, there's no doubt Optimus is one of the toughest Autobots ever. Optimus Prime isn't just a big deal in battles because of his brute strength, he's got the whole package. He's shown time and again that he can handle himself in a fight, and there's a reason he's the Autobot top dog. But his real power? It's not just metal and circuits, it's his intangible qualities. He's brave, a thinker, a strategist, and never underestimates his foes. These traits are what let him go toe-to-toe with much mightier enemies. He's got the willpower and compassion to hang in battles longer than he should, and he often rattles his opponents just because he doesn't quit. Optimus Prime is a legend in the Transformers world for flipping the script in battles through sheer willpower and guts. He sacrificed himself more times than we can count, and taken down many supposedly stronger foes by outsmarting them and leaning on his buddies. Primus. Primus can be considered like the OG god, stretching back to the dawn of the universe. This cosmic entity is a force for good that spans across realities and dimensions. In every corner of the multiverse, Primus is the last-ditch defense against any wicked force that tries to mess with the galaxy. Not just that, he's also the mastermind behind creating the Transformers themselves. Primus, after doing his universe-saving day job for a while, decided to put his responsibility on others, his creations. He uses his god-level powers to transform himself into the planet we all know and love, Cybertron. From then on, the Transformers start taking birth from the planet's surface, basically extensions of Primus himself. These Autobots, usually the good guys, spread across the galaxy, fighting for justice, just like their cosmic creator did. Oh, and the spark that powers every Transformer, that's a piece of Primus's life force, and they all come together to create the Allspark. Now, when you see the names Optimus Prime and Primus, it's easy to wonder if there's a family connection going on. Well, in a way, there is. See, since Primus is the god of all things Transformer, and the one who gave birth to him on Cybertron, every bot from the planet is, in a sense, Primus's offspring. That includes Optimus Prime. But our noble warrior Optimus has a special link with Primus that sets him apart from the Autobot gang. You could say that because he's the leader of the Autobots. He's as close as Transformer can get to resemble Primus. Now, if we talk about the matrix of leadership, only the leader of the Autobots gets to bear it. Throughout Transformers history, Optimus Prime's been the Matrix holder, which means he's the head of the Autobots and packs a piece of Primus's life force itself. While all Transformers are like Primus's kids, Optimus Prime is essentially doing the god's work, taking on the Decepticons, Terrorcons, and any other bad bots doing the dirty work for Primus's arch-nemesis, Unicron. You could somewhat compare Optimus with a biblical messenger of God, while the other Transformers are mere mortals. Metroplex. Metroplex can very well be considered the Autobots' ultimate weapon. He's not just a run-off-the-mill Transformer, he's a city-former. Yep, you heard it right. His other mode is an entire city. Now, in the Transformer universe, there are beings called Colony Titans, but Metroplex is one of the originals of this class of Transformers. He rolled with Primus back in the day, helping take down the monstrous Trypticon. Now, Metroplex had his moment of glory, aiding his people and planet for eons, but he kind of vanished into the history books until Megatron started throwing a wrench into things. Under Optimus Prime's command, Metroplex helped destroy a lot of Megatron's early weapons and forces. Even though the Autobots were still trying to get their act together, he played a key role in keeping the balance. But here's the thing, Metroplex is so darn powerful that Megatron couldn't resist trying to take him out. In fact, Megatron couldn't win if Metroplex existed. Although Metroplex wasn't exactly the most practical base, he was a total beast in combat. Just his presence on the battlefield helped turn the tide for the Autobots. He's got a sharpshooter's eye and can go toe-to-toe with pretty much anyone. Plus, he's loyal, brainy, and brave. Qualities the Autobots bank on. Having said that, Metroplex is super humble. Despite his massive size, smarts, and combat skills, he's always looking to up his game and tackle any challenge while remaining grounded and acting as a team player. Even when the odds are against him, which isn't often, he's all about finding a way to tip the scales in favor of the good guys. Megatron. Galvatron. Alright, let's talk about Megatron. This guy is a powerhouse and a strategic genius. No doubt about it. He's duked it out with just every Transformer in the ring, and he's got the muscle and brains to back it up. Megatron is all in on his mission and genuinely believes in what he's fighting for. But his only flaw apart from his murderous rage is that his ego is bigger than Cybertron itself. He's got the superiority complex, thinking Transformers are the creme de la creme in the universe, and anything or anyone he deems inferior isn't even on his radar. This arrogance has bitten him in the tailpipe more times than we can count. His plans often tank because he's too busy looking down his nose to spot a crucial detail. If he had a bit more perspective and didn't underestimate potential threats, the Decepticons might have taken over the universe ages ago. Good for humans, I guess. When Megatron bit the dust, he cut a deal with Unicron to come back as Galvatron. While Galvatron keeps all of Megatron's memories, the rebirth messes with his head big time. He's totally bonkers and will do anything to grab more power for himself. Think of him as Megatron 2.0, with an extra dose of craziness. Galvatron's quest for domination has led him to some heavy-duty, mythical artifacts that make him almost indestructible. When he's at his peak, not even an army of supercharged Transformers can slow him down. But his lust for power is his Achilles heel. He's quick to toss his buddies aside and break all kinds of rules to get what he wants, making pretty much everyone team up against him. Ultra Magnus. Ultra Magnus is kinda like Optimus Prime, but the light version. He's got the size, can transform into a truck, and carries a massive one-handed cannon. But he doesn't quite have Prime's knack for rallying or leading the troops into a full-blown army ready to take on the meanest Decepticon ever. It's cause he's a bit wishy-washy, always second-guessing himself and demanding loyalty while being unsure about his own actions. In the IDW universe, Ultra Magnus is actually a little bot named Minimus Ambus, who's tucked inside that massive armor. See, Ultra Magnus bit the dust in battle once, but someone believed that he was essential on the battlefield, so they made armor that looked like him and handed it to load bearers, bots who could wear these exoskeletons without a spark ache. Minimus Ambus is just the latest in a long line of Ultra Magnuses. Ultra Magnus is the kind of leader who's strict but fair. He's all about sticking to protocol, and he even expects the humans and junior Autobots to call him sir. Now, when it comes to power and skills, Ultra Magnus is no slouch. He's got the muscle to knock out Starscream with a single punch and lift the forge of Solus Prime like it's no big deal, which in fact it is a big deal. He even took down Shockwave with one hand. But when it comes to Megatron, he more than meets his match. Additionally, he's a top-notch pilot. Quintessa, Michael Bay Universe. Alright, so in the 2017 film Transformers: The Last Knight, we meet Quintessa, one of the movie's big baddies. She's a character with some serious potential to outshine the rest in terms of power. Now, she makes some pretty bold claims, like saying she's the mother of all Cybertronians, but some of it's up in the air. What we do know is she was a pretty entertaining part of a film that often gets a bad rap from the die-hard fans. The Autobots thought they took her out after Bumblebee's little attack, but the movie's final scene suggests she's still alive, hiding out in human form. Quintessa's got a skill set that's off the charts, even in a universe filled with heavy hitters, but what really sets her apart is her knack for playing the long game. While the others are caught up in skirmishes, she's already scheming for the next round. She's got abilities like holographic camouflage, hypnosis, and telekinesis, and she's not shy about busting out the energy projection and redirection moves. She's got the ability to reshape other Cybertronians using her creation mojo. I mean, she transformed Galvatron back into Megatron form just to suit her needs in The Last Knight. When she's not in her human disguise, you'll catch her hovering in midair. Oh, and she's got some mind-bending skills too. She put Optimus Prime under her mental spell when they first crossed paths. She can pretty much reprogram Cybertronians, making them follow her every command. Omega Supreme. This guy's ancient. We're talking millions of years old. Back in the day, he used to be the guardian of Cybertron's biggest city, and he's still serving the Autobots as their intergalactic transport. Unlike many Cybertronians, he's got not one, but 3 different alternate forms. He can morph into a massive tank, plus 2 military bases, one for missiles and another for missile defense. So basically, he's a walking fortress. He's practically impervious to all but the most heavy-duty attacks, and has enough firepower to take on entire squads. In a one-on-one showdown, he'd pretty much flatten any opponent. But Omega's not just about the brawn. He's got a sense of duty and protection. He can't stand the Decepticons' destructive ways, and he's all about working alongside Optimus Prime and the gang to keep those in danger safe. They see him as a last line of defense, and he's more than up to the task. He's always been one of the big guns for the Autobots. He's part of the Omega Sentinel Guardian robots and is one of the few Cybertronians who remember the time before all those civil wars broke out. He had a hand in Cybertron's early expansion days and even had a go at interacting with alien life, but let's just say it didn't exactly go smoothly. Fortress Maximus. This big guy's power level varies depending on which Transformers universe you're in. In some, like the classic 80s cartoon and the 2007 animated series, he's one of the city bots, like Metroplex. In those cases, he's a bona fide powerhouse, ranking among the mightiest Autobots to ever roam any planet. Now in the IDW comics, things take a different turn. There, Fortress Maximus belongs to the 0.1 percenters, a select group of Cybertronians with rare, unique sparks that only come around once in 1,000. He fought in numerous battles for the Autobots before becoming the warden of Garrus 9, their high-security prison for war prisoners and lawbreakers from both sides. Things got bad for him when the Phase 6 Overlord rolled in and caused chaos, leading to Fort Max needing a rescue mission by the Wreckers. Although he did take a beating from Overlord, he got his sweet revenge in a one-on-one showdown, buying enough time to toss the Khan back into a cell, which promptly went boom. And hey, the guy's got guns in his legs. That's hard to hate on. In Marvel Comics, Fortress Maximus played a different role. He led a group of Autobots on Cybertron and grew convinced that the war with the Decepticons would never end. His solution was to move himself and his crew to the planet Nebulus, seeking peace. Unfortunately, Nebulan Lord Zarak had other plans. He framed Maximus's envoy, Blur, for attacking their peace symbol, making life tough for the Autobots. To prove their peaceful intentions, Fortress Maximus and his top folks removed their heads, essentially shutting themselves down. Maximus cut a deal with the peaceful Nebulan leader Galen, but Zarek's tricks brought Scorponok and his Decepticons to Nebulus. To stand a chance, Fortress Maximus and Galen joined forces with a scientist named Arcana and cooked up the headmaster process. This involved bioengineering Nebulans to become the Autobots' missing heads, with Galen partnering up with Maximus. Rodimus Prime. Hot Rod, or as he later became known, Rodimus Prime, was a major protagonist in the 1986 animated film Transformers, the movie, and in the third season of the Generation 1 TV series, until Optimus Prime made his triumphant comeback in the two-parter season finale, The Return of Optimus Prime. This bot has got the energy to spare, but he's also pretty headstrong, often letting his overflowing self-confidence veer into the territory of outright arrogance. Once he becomes Rodimus Prime and leads the Autobots, he takes on a more mature, physically imposing persona. He even gets a wisdom boost, thanks to inheriting the matrix of leadership from his predecessors. But underneath all that, Rodimus still struggles with self-doubt, feeling like he's living in the shadow of the great Optimus Prime. To be honest, anyone would feel that way. Now, in the weapons department, both Hot Rod and Rodimus can shoot lasers right out of their forearms, and they've got a retraceable saw blade to boot. Rodimus started off as a bit of a lone wolf, unaffiliated with either the Autobots or the Decepticons. He wasn't too keen on Zeta Prime's authoritarian rule or the Decepticons' terror tactics, so he hung around as part of a third faction. It wasn't until he persuaded Optimus to take a stand against Zeta that he picked a side. As the war raged on, Rodimus had a front row seat to the devastating effects of violence on his fellow Autobots and the enormous responsibility that came with leadership. Now he's got a knack for acting on impulse and dragging his crew into tight spots because of his desire to make a real impact. Lockdown. Lockdown, a ruthless intergalactic bounty hunter, made quite an entrance in Transformers' Age of Extinction. His mission was to capture Optimus Prime. Lockdown didn't just do this for kicks. He had a deal going with Harold Attinger, a shady CIA operative who wanted all Transformers off Earth. These two formed an uneasy partnership. Lockdown would help Attinger's team hunt Autobots while gaining access to Earth's abundant resources. But of course, the ultimate prize was Optimus Prime. Lockdown wasted no time in hunting down Autobot Ratchet, whose refusal to spill the beans on Optimus resulted in Ratchet losing his spark. However, Lockdown questioned the lackluster efforts of Attinger to capture Optimus and even the very nature of their partnership. suspicious Attinger grilled Lockdown about his true motives, but Lockdown did not reveal anything. Instead, he warned Attinger that they should stick to their deal, but the chase made Optimus go on the run. Lockdown decided to shoot down Cade Yeager's farm when he spotted Optimus and the human crew running. He gave chase but couldn't get hold of Optimus, who was in no mood to play nice. Lockdown even launched a grenade at Optimus's human pals, taking out Cade's friend Lucas. As the story unfolded, Lockdown got word that Optimus was fighting Galvatron. He intervened and took Optimus aboard his ship. Later, the Autobots arrived to save Optimus and the Dinobots from Lockdown's clutches. The rescue went off without a hitch, leaving Lockdown fuming. Furious at their escape, Lockdown returned to Earth, hell-bent on tracking down Optimus and the Dinobots by any means necessary. With word from Attinger about Optimus's location in Hong Kong, Lockdown activated his magnetic weapon, causing chaos in the city. He almost had Optimus and the Dinobots cornered, but in the end, Optimus thwarted his plans. In a face-off between Optimus and Lockdown, the latter managed to hold his own against the Autobot leader, but it was Optimus he was fighting. There's only so much one can do against him. Overlord. When Overlord stomps onto the battleground, Autobots brace themselves because this Decepticon behemoth strikes fear into their robotic hearts. He's a walking arsenal, complete laser blasters, and grenade launchers in his gut. But what's really scary is his power to prevent his victims' wounds from healing. Now, Overlord isn't your typical one-piece transformer. He's actually a combination of two, formed from two separate entities called the Giga Tank and the Mega Jet. When they come together, you've got a colossal robot mode that's basically a moving military base, or they can transform into an even bigger jet for some space travel action. In the IDW universe, Overlord was one of Megatron's heavy hitters. These Phase 6ers were given the job of wiping out planets on their last legs. But Overlord didn't want to play ball. He took off knowing Megatron would be hot on his trail. Fast forward a few years, and he shows up at the Autobot Detention Center on Garrus 9 during a Decepticon attack. He takes charge and turns the planet into a massive arena of death. He forces his own troops to either hunt down Autobots or engage in gruesome gladiatorial combat. Why? All to get Megatron's attention, or so he thought. Shockwave eventually clues him in, explaining that Megatron wasn't too concerned about chasing Overlord. The Wreckers arrive to spoil Overlord's fun, aiming to free the prisoners and gather critical data. Overlord doesn't take too kindly to that. He goes on a rampage, wiping out most of them. But in the process, he takes a real beating. Grimlock. Grimlock is like the ultimate childhood dream that comes to life. You know, the kind where you imagine a transformer that's also a dinosaur. He's a big, tough guy who wields a massive sword and can transform into a menacing T-Rex. If we were ranking coolest transformers, Grimlock would definitely take the crown. However, sometimes it's tough to pin down whose side he's on. Well, except when it comes to his Dinobot crew. Those are really his people. He burst onto the scene back in the original cartoons, where the Autobots decided they needed some robotic dinosaurs to join the party. 'Cause why not? So they whipped up Grimlock and the gang. But the Dinobots weren't exactly friendly when they were born. It wasn't until they saved Optimus and crew from the Decepticons that they were like, okay, you can hang with us. In the IDW G1 series, Grimlock starts off in a military slammer, and that's because he's really rubbed his boss the wrong way. While behind bars, he buddied up with his cellmate Slag, and together they formed the Dinobots. They did some missions for the bigwigs in the Cybertronian Senate and later for the Autobots. But Grimlock eventually flipped and spent some time with the Decepticons. That didn't last long because he and Megatron couldn't stand each other, so he found his way back to the Autobots, where he probably belonged. Grimlock's heart is definitely in the right place, but he's got this thing about putting his friends before himself. That's nice and all, but it doesn't always do him any favors. Sentinel Prime. Sentinel Prime, part of the Prime lineage that predates Optimus, has a significant role in stoking the Decepticons' burning grudge against the Primes. Especially in the IDW universe, Sentinel is one shady character. He held the position of head of security for the Senate on Cybertron and was deep into creating sleeper agents who'd do his bidding. When he wasn't cooking up his secret army, he was busy eliminating anyone who dared question the Senate's authority. Sentinel's actions helped lay the groundwork for the bots who eventually went full-on Decepticon. He even went to the extent of framing them, all in a power-hungry ploy to strengthen his position. By the time the war ignited, Sentinel was on the brink of taking control of the Senate. However, the rise of Megatron from the gladiatorial pits changed the game. Megatron ended up taking down Sentinel Prime with his bare hands. So despite his power, it's hard to rank him too high when he couldn't hold his own against the leader of the Decepticons in a one-on-one brawl. Shockwave. Among the Decepticons, Shockwave is often rumored to be capable of taking on even Megatron himself in combat. This sinister scientist not only packs a punch, but also possesses an eerie charisma that draws followers like Nitro Zeus, who continued committing acts of terror in his name, even after Shockwave's death in Dark of the Moon. After his death, his body was used by KSI to create the somewhat less intimidating Two-Head, who eventually met his fate via hand grenade. While it might seem like we've seen the last of Shockwave, his ability to endure and leave a lasting impact on the franchise is a superpower in itself. Despite his knack of logical thinking, which often becomes a character flaw, Shockwave's misdeeds have a lasting effect on the Transformers universe. He possesses the ability to sway others to his cause, evident when he deploys his powers to create subservient clones of himself for battle. As if that's not enough, Shockwave can transform into a tank, manipulate energy blasts by opening portals, and hold his ground against Autobots in hand-to-hand combat. However, his true viciousness lies in his knack for crafting weapons for the Decepticons and masterminding schemes like Project Predaking, the creation of cyber matter, and the restoration of the Omega Lock. Devastator. Devastator, the colossal man-eating Decepticon combiner, was a terrifying force to be reckoned with. Comprising several constructions, this behemoth possessed immense power, but his mental capacity left much to be desired. Devastator's primary purpose was wanton destruction on a grand scale. He fought for the bad guys during the Battle of Egypt, where his mission was to unearth the Star Harvester. What set him apart was the ability to create potent gravity wells by generating artificial black holes with his vortex grinder, located in his gaping maw. Nearby objects would be helplessly drawn into this abyss, with catastrophic results. When Megatron commanded Devastator to eliminate Mudflap and Skids, the monstrous combiner failed to accomplish the task. Apart from his appearance in Revenge of the Fallen, Devastator made subsequent appearances in two other projects. In the game adaptation of the second film, players encountered him as a final boss during the Autobot campaign. The battle took place in Cairo, where NEST and the local military joined forces with the Autobots to defeat him. Devastator also made an appearance in Universal Studios' Transformers: The Ride. Bumblebee, one of Optimus Prime's most loyal comrades, has been a steadfast Autobot since long before the catastrophic Decepticon war erupted on Cybertron. In his early days, Bumblebee served as a courier until he was unwittingly drawn into the conflict when Decepticon deception led him to deliver a bomb instead of a package. Fueled by his anger, Bumblebee aligned himself with Optimus Prime's group and embarked on a path of unwavering loyalty. Throughout the years, he worked closely with Optimus Prime, often taking on leadership roles in Prime's absence. He became a vital part of the council tasked with overseeing Cybertron's restoration once the war subsided and both factions recognized the planet's habitability. His small stature, however, limited his battlefield feats, and there were instances where his kind-heartedness hindered his ability to take decisive action, leading to internal division within the Autobot ranks during Prime's imprisonment. While Bumblebee may not possess the sheer power of Optimus Prime, he more than compensates with his unwavering determination and unyielding spirit. Bumblebee's iconic appearance has evolved from an adorable yellow Volkswagen Bug to a yellow Camaro with bee-themed racing stripes. Vector Prime. When it comes to the Primes, those ancient beings destined to master different cosmic domains, you've got quite the lineup. But in the grand scheme of things, Vector Prime steals the show for a couple of compelling reasons. Once upon a time, Vector Prime held the illustrious Matrix of Leadership, a symbol of tremendous power and responsibility. But he chose a different path, departing Cybertron to become the guardian of time and space itself. With the move, he went to the next level in terms of his capabilities. You see, Vector Prime can bend time and space to his will, and he's got the multiverse as his playground. He can travel dimensions and observe events with ease, which means he's not just a player in one realm, he's a cosmic influencer, pulling the strings across space, time, and alternate realities. Now, being one of those eons-old Primes has its quirks. Vector Prime's long stay outside regular space and time has left him a bit out of sync with the rest of the universe. Still, despite his otherworldly perspective, he's got a good heart, and when he's set on a course of action, there's not much other Transformers can do to thwart him. He's a force to be reckoned with, shaping destinies on a cosmic scale. Predaking, now that's one interesting fellow in the Transformers universe. You see, he's what they call a combiner. That means he's not just your run-of-the-mill Transformer. He's a combination of 5 other fearsome Predacons, namely Dive Bomb, Headstrong, Rampage, Razor Claw, and Tantrum. When these bad boys come together, you get Predaking, and he's a force to be reckoned with, to say the least. What sets Predaking apart from your typical combiner is his ability to sync up perfectly with his component parts. See, when regular combiners form, they're like a bunch of individuals trying to agree on a plan, which doesn't always work out so well. But the Predacons that make up Predaking become one unified consciousness, which eliminates those teamwork hiccups. This unique trait makes Predaking a super dangerous adversary. He can single out and take down his foes with ruthless efficiency. But there's a catch, he's got a thing for the hunt. Sometimes that relentless desire to track and conquer his prey leads him into traps, where he thinks he's already got the win in the bag. So while he's a formidable force, that hunting obsession can be a chink in his armor. Trypticon. Trypticon is a real powerhouse in the Transformers universe. This colossal bot falls into the category of titans. In one form, he's this gigantic dinosaur, and trust me, you wouldn't want to tangle with him in hand-to-hand combat. He's like a wrecking ball on steroids, but with laser beams. So this guy's pretty much undefeatable if you don't outnumber him, and even then he might kick ass. His other form is a city-sized artillery platform. This behemoth can rain down firepower like there's no tomorrow. Now, there aren't many out there who can go head-to-head with Trypticon's insane size and weaponry. When Autobots face this mechanical monstrosity, they usually resort to clever tricks and tactics because charging in, guns blazing, would be a one-way ticket to doom. You see, he has immense capabilities when it comes to taking punishment, so he's a sink for incoming assault. Trypticon's a force to be reckoned with, no doubt, but the thing is, he's not all that thrilled about the constant battles. He might despise the Autobots, but he's equally fed up with being used as a pawn by the Decepticons. So there's this disinterest in the whole conflict, and that's one of the chinks in his armor that gives the Autobots a fighting chance against this walking disaster. Alpha Trion. Alpha Trion is another big deal in the Transformers universe. We're talking ancient, like older than ancient. This bot played a pivotal role in shaping Cybertron's destiny back in the day when they were trying to be a big shot in the galaxy. In his prime, he was all about getting Cybertron recognized as a major player. But now that he's way past his oil change date, he's taken on the role of a wise advisor to the young generation of Autobots. You know, like Optimus Prime and Elita 1. This bot's got that mystic vibe to him, and some folks even think he's got some direct line to the big shots, like Primus himself. In many realities, he's the gatekeeper of something called Vector Sigma, and the go-to guy for its circuit key. However, even though he could have totally rocked the matrix of leadership, he decided to pass on it. So power is not really his thing. It's all about guidance and watching out for the future of Cybertron. According to some continuities, he's called the father of Optimus Prime. Starscream. Starscream, the perennial schemer of the Decepticons, has an unquenchable thirst for power. His ultimate goal is to dethrone Megatron and seize leadership of the Decepticon forces, a position he has coveted and claimed on multiple occasions, only to meet defeat. Starscream is known for his ruthless nature, cruelty, bloodlust, and above-average intelligence within the Decepticon ranks. Despite his ambitions, Starscream tends to refrain from direct action to seize power, often opting to bide his time and ensure the conditions favor his ascension. He holds himself in high regard, believing he surpasses other Decepticons in both intellect and capability. Paradoxically, when given the opportunity to lead, Starscream often falls short of his vision. Megatron frequently underestimates Starscream, considering him a minor threat. However, some speculate that Megatron's tolerance of Starscream's treacherous nature may be driven by a grudging respect for his scheming abilities, or as a precautionary measure to keep his enemies close. There are even suggestions that Starscream's rebellious behavior amuses Megatron. Starscream's initial appearance dates back to a 1983 Diaclone toy catalog, where he was introduced as one of two colorations for a toy named Jet Robo, capable of transforming into a McDonnell Douglas F-15 Eagle. Hasbro later acquired the toy mold in 1984, officially naming it Starscream in the Generation 1 animated series and the accompanying Marvel Comics series. As the Decepticon Air Commander, he leads the Seeker jets, many of which share his design. Starscream boasts impressive technical specifications, with a top speed of Mach 2.8 and an altitude ceiling of 52 miles. His arm-mounted launchers can unleash cluster bombs, devastating a substantial area, and he wields the infamous null ray capable of temporarily disrupting the flow of electricity in any circuitry it contacts, rendering electronic devices, including other Transformers, temporarily inoperative. Thunderwing's saga began in the exclusive UK stories, where he went on a quest to prove his mettle as a Decepticon leader. His test was to hunt down 3 Autobots stranded on Earth. He dispatches 2 of them with ruthless efficiency, but his pursuit of the third, Hosehead, takes an unexpected turn. The tenacious Autobots Nightbeat and Siren intervene, managing to inflict severe damage on Thunderwing. Later, Thunderwing receives a visit from a Decepticon squad sent to assess his progress. However, he turns the tables on them, which leads to an assault on the Autobots' Ark. The attack is repelled, but Thunderwing's performance doesn't go unnoticed. The Decepticon High Command anoints him as the new leader of their Cybertron-based faction. This sets the stage for Thunderwing's debut in the Marvel US Comics, where he identifies the morale-boosting impact of Autobots, Bumblebee, Jazz, and Grimlock. He dispatches the formidable Mayhem Squad, led by Bludgeon, to eliminate them. However, the Autobots force him to travel from the heart of Cybertron to Earth. Thunderwing quickly discerns that multiple Autobot teams are scouring the galaxy in search of something significant. He assembles a team and intercepts his old adversaries, Hosehead, Nightbeat, and Siren. Interrogating them reveals that the Autobots seek the lost creation matrix. Tracking down other Autobot teams to monitor their progress, he finally locates the coveted matrix, but he's confronted by Autobots, including Bumblebee. Thunderwing has always felt an inexplicable connection to the Matrix, which had been tainted by reviving a few bad guys. He willingly accepts it as his host, leaving the fuel-starved Autobots behind. Furthermore, he attacks the Autobots with the Matrix, inflicting casualties. The turning point occurs when he's ambushed and wounded, allowing the sinister influence of the Dark Matrix to take control. It even compels him to open fire on his Lieutenant Spinister. He wields the Matrix as a weapon, claiming several Autobot lives. However, it's Nightbeat who thrusts a spear into Thunderwing, dragging him from the Ark. The stolen shuttle carrying Thunderwing explodes, seemingly spelling his death. Bruticus is the Decepticon powerhouse made up of 5 bad bots: Onslaught, Vortex, Brawl, Blastoff, and Swindle. These guys can transform into some mean military vehicles, and when they come together, they become the one and only Bruticus. Now, Bruticus isn't your average Decepticon. He is practically a walking armory, packing some serious heat and being tough as nails. As the name suggests, Bruticus is known for being a brute, so he's not the sharpest tool in the shed. In fact, he's got the brains of a toaster. If you know how to push his buttons, he'll follow orders like a loyal puppy. One thing about Bruticus, though, is that he's all about that action. Just point him at the enemy and he's good to go. But don't expect him to come up with any genius battle plans. He's more of a wrecking ball than a strategist. So, powerful? Absolutely. But you better have someone smart calling the shots. Saber isn't just any Transformer. He's got a reputation as the universe's greatest swordsman. He is the supreme commander of the Autobots and head of the Galactic Defense Force. Much like other Autobots, Saber is all about defending the little guys, protecting the weak, and spreading peace across the cosmos. However, he's not all about the hero stuff. Saber's got a soft side too. He took in an orphaned human kid named Jan Minakaze and treats him like his own flesh and blood, although he doesn't have any. But you know what I mean, fatherly love and all that. Now, Saber is not just a figurehead. He leads a group called the Brainmasters, and these folks should not be taken lightly. They're brave, strong, smart, you name it. And Saber himself he's the brain of courage. When he needs to step up, he combines with a bigger body to become Saber. And then, with the shout of "Battle Up," he connects to the V-Star mobile battle platform and becomes a powerhouse known as Star Saber. Oh, and if things get real nasty, he can join up with his buddy Victory Leo to become Victory Saber. Marvelous verdict! So you see, there's practically no dearth of ultra-powerful Cybertronians on either side of the line, separating the good and the bad. Their Cybertronian physiology grants them limitless physical strength as well as endurance. But of more importance than that is the technological advancement that makes it super difficult to mess with them, let alone destroy them. Cybertronians are a force of nature that doesn't really feel natural. Now this is because of their epic ability to transform. However, it wasn't always easy for them to do that. Autobots and Decepticons had to hustle and learn how to transform, and it wasn't for fun. It was all about surviving the relentless war on Cybertron. In those early days, the Decepticons had the upper hand, with more numbers and bigger weapons. Autobots in a tight spot had to level up their game. They got sneaky and learned how to transform. To keep it low-key, they looked like Cybertronian hovercrafts that kinda resembled Earth cars. The Autobots pulled off some guerrilla tactics, playing hide-and-seek in plain sight and hitting the Decepticons with surprise attacks. The transformation made their getaways smoother, perfect for launching ambushes and vanishing. The Autobots' new style worked wonders, and they put an end to the first round of the Cybertron War, kickstarting the Golden Age. If you want us to dive deeper into the subject, let us know in the comments.